Hi guys, Melissa here. I'm doing a little series on breast milk storage guidelines. Check out my video on this topic that I did a while back. Check out the video I just did with some questions about how long you can leave breast milk out at room temperature. And here's the question I got, and you'll hear my answer. And it's about freezing milk. And this question is coming from Michelle Hernandez on YouTube. And she writes, can breast milk spoil in the freezer? Great question. Breast milk can be stored for very long periods of time in the freezer. But you actually have to be careful about what kind of freezer you have. And you have to think about how often you're opening the freezer. So it matters. It matters whether you put it in the door of a freezer that's being opened like 20 times a day as your family gets ice and popsicles and whatever else they're getting, or if it's at the back of a deep freezer. And you guys are now you're really gonna think I'm crazy, but I actually went to, what's the name of that store? I actually rented another freezer when I was pumping and put it in our kitchen. We had an extra freezer, a deep freezer that was never opened, and I stuck all the breast milk in there because I especially with my third baby who was in the NICU, I was like the pumping queen. I was almost over lactating, and I put the breast milk in there because I wanted to be in a deep freezer. So anyway, here's the thing, so check out my show on breast milk storage guidelines, and here's what the Mayo Clinic has to say, just to reinforce some of the rules. Breast milk can be kept at room temperature for up to 4 hours. And I don't advise that, by the way. I think it should go right in the fridge. You can't, for example, leave it out at room temperature for 3 hours and then put it in the fridge and give it 5 days later. No, you have to pick. You have to commit. You have to say you're either going to leave it out for 4 hours, and I'd be careful about how hot it is in your home, or put it in the fridge, in which case you're going to either freeze it that day, or you're going to give it to your baby within the required amount of time, or you're going to freeze it immediately. You can't leave it outside at room temperature for 3 hours and then freeze it. You can't leave it in the fridge for 1 day and then freeze it. You have to decide that first day, okay? So know what your system is. Freshly expressed breast milk, according to Mayo Clinic, can be stored in the back of the refrigerator, the back, for up to 5 days if in clean conditions. That means all your pump stuff is immaculately clean, sterile. And it means that it's not in the door of your refrigerator, which is getting more exposure to heat when the fridge gets opened. Really interesting. Now, freshly expressed breast milk can be stored in the back of a deep freezer for up to 12 months. However, using the breast milk within 6 months is optimal. I did go beyond the 6 months, especially with babies 4 and 5. I had so much pumped milk. I was doing this site. I had a lot of kids. I was feeding less, I was skipping some feeds. I was still pumping, and they definitely had milk that was beyond the 6 months, but it was in a deep freezer. And I looked at it too, like it looked good to me. And when I defrosted it, I smelled it and it seemed fine. Some people even taste it, but you got to see whether you're down with that. It could be like a little bit yicky. Okay, so anyway, follow these guidelines to a T. There's no room for interpretation. There's no room for like finding your own sort of personal way about it. You have to do this to the T, and you have to know how they work. What I would do is actually print out the rules. You could even print out my text post and put them on my refrigerator. I would get everything ready. Have a pump station next to where you are breastfeeding your baby. Have everything you need. Make sure you're always washing your hands thoroughly. Make sure you are, you've got pens ready to write on your bags. Make sure everything you use is BPA-free, safe plastic. Pick a good solid brand. It's a major effort, but it will really pay off. It's so healthy for you. It's so healthy for your baby. Thank you so much for doing it. You're such a wonderful mom. And, God bless you. Thank you so much for writing into CloudMom, and I'll see you next time.